YouTube, sports cards fans. Obviously, I'm here with Ryan, Sports Card News on Twitter. We're at the secret location. Needless to say, things have been pretty good over the last year, especially in the sports card market, but in other markets as well. Ryan, how are you doing?
Pretty good. We're not in Dallas anymore, but like you said, secret location, sports card world. Been on fire the last couple years, maybe a little bit of a dip. Last few weeks, we'll talk about that, but yeah, chilling out. What kind of stogie you got there?
I don't know, it's like a Cohiba or something. So my uncles smoke a lot of cigars, so we end up with a few extra ones every once in a while. So let's fill everybody in. You went to Dallas last week, posted a couple videos. There was a big card show. Let us know kind of the vibe about that whole show.
It was busy. I was there, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Part of the day Saturday. It was super busy, and it was a big area for the show. There had to have been 450 dealers. I think that's what the sell sheet said. So easily that. Good size show. You were wall to wall, jam packed. If you were COVID scared, not a place you want to be. If you're scared of big, sweaty men, overweight men.
Oh, I'm scared of that even without COVID.
Don't want to be near them either. So it was definitely a little hot and sweaty and humid in there. But the show itself was good. I was able to find some deals. I heard that things were overpriced. I heard that some of the dealers were getting a little cash poor, because the thing that I noticed is that there were so many people that pretty much like 90% of the people there that were attending the show had stuff they were trying to sell. So it was almost they were dealers themselves with just a 5-foot Pelican box instead of buying a table. So that's the one thing that I thought was kind of interesting, that there was like, when I go to the National, yeah, there are people there trading stuff and buying and selling and doing that. And that's a big part of the show. That's something I've done myself. But this was like on steroids. It was almost like 90% of the attendees were there to also sell something. So perhaps those first couple days when dealers were a little more flush, they were able to buy stuff, but I think by Friday and Saturday, what I was hearing is that dealers didn't want to buy anything unless it was like a grail item or something they knew they could just get rid of really quickly. And cash was king. If you had cash, I remember a couple times people were surprised that I was paying in cash. They were like, "Oh, you just want to buy these cards?" I was like, "Yeah, that's what I'm here for." So dealers a little cash poor for one reason or the other. Either the backlog at PSA, they've got bills due, they've got money tied up in other cards. The market has been a little slow. The modern market especially has been a little slow. You've seen dippage there. You've seen slippage even in players that are playing well in the playoffs, NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball as well. You've seen Vladimir Guerrero might win Triple Crown, and it's not like his card's exploding. You've seen Luka really elevate himself into a top 10, 5-10 NBA player, and his stuff has continued to decline. So you can only imagine maybe potentially what would happen. But overall, the vibe of the show was, man, it was busy. It was packed, but there's a little bit of hesitation there. It wasn't just free flowing. Everybody was making money. Everybody was dollar bills and making it rain there in Dallas. There was still a little bit of dealers being cash poor. The show maybe not being as well run as other big kind of medium-sized shows, and the fact that I would say 90% of the people there were there trying to sell stuff. Wow. Which is an awkward kind of thing,
Right.
That's different from my experiences going even to the National, where a lot of people had stuff to trade, but not to that degree, not anywhere close.
So we got a lot of sellers in this market. It seems like
a lot of sellers.
A lot of guys trying to flip,
and trying to trade too. Not
right.
A lot of sellers, and then are they going to go reinvest this money back into cards? Probably not. They're probably selling these cards for a reason. Maybe they're trying to get into bigger cards. I know that's a big thing right now, is guys are just trying to get into these bigger cards, grail cards,
right?
Because that's kind of the thing right now.
Yeah, that shows well on Instagram and things like that, YouTube. So let's talk about the National. Looks like it's who knows what's gonna go down, but it looks like a lot of things are promising, not just the National, but definitely promising for the National to attend. What's your plans for the National?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go early. That's always a healthy tip for everybody. Gonna go that VIP day Wednesday, Thursday, and then maybe, I don't know, I might stick around a little bit. Depends how the buying is. You know, the thing is, man, that Wednesday there's gonna be camera crews following people that you ain't never heard of. Camera crews following people probably with, you know, no subscribers on YouTube. It's just a, you know, entry into the sports car world. A lot of people trying to become sports card famous at the Dallas Card Show. I could only imagine the National, that's going to be tenfold.
Yeah.
A lot of people trying to step out and become something. But we'll also see if the market has continued to slip. We've got about 2 months until the National. Man, if we continue to see a slide in a broad slide, either in modern or across the board, all cards, even vintage, like the Jordan rookies were selling, Jordan PSA 10 rookies, I think we're selling for $1 million, and now they're like 300,000. Like, wow. That is a big, in a few months.
Right.
So we've seen it at the high end, we've seen it at the middle tier, and maybe a little less at the lower end. You don't see those big, huge price slides, but you know, we've seen it across the board. So the National is going to be interesting because this is where all the auction houses come out and everybody, you know, it's kind of a grand thing for the industry. So we'll kind of see if now we've had, so say we have another 2 months of price slides. Now we're literally talking about really from January. Now there was some iconic cards that were popping in January. Some of that Jordan stuff was popping, and Tiger Woods stuff was popping in January. Right. But really, you could say modern and broadly stuff, if we go to the National, has been slip sliding for about 7 months. So what's going to be the vibe then? Certainly, if your time horizon's longer than that, if you look out 1, 2, 3 years, the industry's been huge and grown, and like, you know, all this money's come in and interest and just explosion. I mean, just the camera crews alone at the Dallas show was something that blew my mind. I'm just looking around being like, that guy's got 4 people following him, and I don't recognize anybody in that group. So cards have taken another stratosphere, have brought in a whole new wave. If you haven't been to a card show since like the last National, you're gonna see all these young kids carrying around these big old, they look like gun cases, but they're, you know, I think that's what they're for, these big old Pelican cases and stuff, carrying slabs and cards and stuff, trying to make deals and trades. There was a kid, now I forget, I was standing in line I was just waiting for the show to start, and he had his backpack on, he has Pelican case, and he was a young kid, probably in his 20s, talking to another guy, and he was just like, this is just an attendee of the show, random guy. He's like, man, I'm just gonna start going up to random people and just see if they want to buy stuff, because I need to start hustling and grinding. And I was thinking to myself, if this motherfucker walks up to me right now and asks me to buy cards, I might sock him in his face. So that's the type of mentality you're gonna see at the National, is this like
the hustler
and the grinder and trying to become internet famous. And nothing's wrong with that. I actually like this better. I remember we used to talk about these shows 7-8 years ago, that the Old Man Convention, the Crickets Convention, the Group Break Crickets Pavilion, and so on and so forth. And because it was a whole different vibe. So this is a totally different vibe, and I'm not saying it's positive or negative. I personally enjoy it more because, one, I can remain completely anonymous. When you've got 20 guys with camera crews following around them, nobody cares about me. I can get in and out of there. Nobody's recognizing me. Nobody's trying to spit in my face or do any of this crazy stuff like that. So I love it. I love the added attention to cards. It's like a whole new thing to cover as well. You've got all these people and just all these people thinking differently about cards. These younger guys think way differently about cards than the older guys. So I think that's interesting. So you're going to see that collide, and now that card shows have opened back up, you've almost seen the two worlds collide, the old world and these new young hotshot guys collide. And I think that is like extremely interesting, and I think that is just going to go like tenfold at the National. Like that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is going to be crazy. Like lots of content. I mean, they damn near should be like a Jordan, you know, the Jordan documentary, the 10-part, with how many camera crews and stuff that's going to get filmed there. They should be a 10-part documentary on the National on Netflix or something, because there's going to be a lot of people there trying to, you know, become card famous. I think somebody was using that term the other day, and I kind of like that. So they're trying to become card famous, and nothing wrong with that at all. No. And it certainly adds attention to the hobby, and that's partly why we've seen this growth, is people have, you know, put these cards on videos. You've had group breakers breaking damn near 24/7 on camera. Right. That's elevated, you know, the interest in cards, and here we are today. So the National is going to be crazy. Like, you better get your tickets now. You better make your plans now. you better hope that Illinois just kind of opens it up. It's going to be wall-to-wall jam. You better not be COVID scared, because you're going to be right next to people. You're going to be bumping up against people. There's no way around it.
Right.
Chicago's a little more jam-packed. Like at Cleveland, you had a little more space. I think they closed the IX Center, so no more. Well, that place is a disaster. But the venue itself was large, much larger than the one in Chicago. But having said that, shoot, the Chicago venue's like 3 times the size of the Dallas venue. I mean, the Dallas venue was big, but it
wasn't that big.
It wasn't like the National. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll be out there probably Wednesday, Thursday, Friday maybe, or something like that, and then I'm getting out of there because the weekend's soon to be. I mean, there might be a line to get in. You might have to like wait. I mean, I don't even know how they're going to control that, but good luck.
Should take this time to remind you guys this video is sponsored by Manscaped. And then over to manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. Use the promo code SCR to save some money and get free shipping.
That's right.
So the market obviously is cooled. I was looking Luka cards, even though the Dallas, I would expect actually Luka cards have probably ticked up a little bit. Maybe a couple other players in the playoffs right now, their cards have probably ticked up a little bit. But we've seen big declines. Tyler Hero, Bowl. There's probably numerous other players out there that I didn't follow the NBA as closely this year as I've had in the past. But we've seen big pullbacks. And you talked about how PSA has a backlog of cards right now, I think in the 100 million.
10 million.
10 million, 100 million. I'm used to stocks. Okay, 10 million cards. Still a lot of cards, okay? And we got to assume out of 10 million cards, how much is modern? 9 million, maybe more. There's not that much vintage that just hasn't been graded or needs to be graded. So I would imagine 90% of it or more is modern NBA, modern football, modern baseball. And I would say out of that 90%, more than half, I would guess, is probably modern NBA, because modern NBA is where you have a larger breadth of player. And it's just that Panini makes some really nice cards to get graded, that type of thing. A set like Prism is really made just NBA stars also hit. Okay, baseball, we're still waiting for the last 2 or 3 year rookies to hit, like the Wander Francos and stuff like that, to actually hit and become gradable. Whereas Luka and LaMelo Ball and all the rookies over the last few years, even a year ago, you could have been sending in Tyler Hero, could have been sending in Bol, could have sent in any of the top 4 or 5 picks. Whereas now that's maybe not the case. And so how do you feel when these 10 million cards, I've already seen anecdotal people showing pictures of their slabs coming back. We got to assume that 10 million cards are going to hit the market pretty quick. Within the next probably 3 to 5 months, we're going to see 10 million cards. And I would guess the vast majority of those were sent in to be resold. And so you got any thoughts on that?
Well, I think, that could contribute to the continuing softening of the market. You have PSA catching up on their backlog. Again, it's going to be more of this modern stuff, which has seen a decline. Now you're going to see an increased supply of those cards onto the market, onto people who maybe need cash, maybe, and again, aren't tied to those cards one way or the other. Right. And those cards have been going down. Presumably stands for a player here or there, a card here or there for the last 4 or 5 months. So that could be very, very interesting. And again, we're heading into the National with this backlog being cleared. I think PSA said they want to start accepting stuff July 1st. The price is going to go a lot higher, so that'll change the dynamics in grading too. Another thing that I've heard is there's been anecdotal reports of the grades getting tougher. So it's harder to get a 10.
Okay, nothing wrong with that.
So that could make the 10s out there worth more. So that's one thing to consider. If you're a card flipper and you're not somebody who sends in stuff, but you're an actual flipper, the 10s presumably could have more value. If it's true that the grades are tougher. And again, I'm just saying that I've seen some anecdotal evidence. Certainly nothing that's hard and fast, and something that you would probably have to analyze over many, many months. before getting any kind of good idea. But PSA did change hands again. This is a company that sold for whatever up close to $1 billion total. New ownership, new vision, new ideas, new ways of thinking. So a lot of things could definitely change.
Private company, so they're going to save several $1 million a year just in cost of being a private company now. So that'll help. They'll be able to reinvest in their business a little bit more. And presumably maybe streamline operations a little bit with some new leadership, not having to focus on printing number. When you're a public company, you have to focus on printing numbers that investors like. You have to sometimes some companies do this, Amazon and some other companies don't, but you have to retain earnings. Okay, you have to show cash on your balance sheet. You have to show that you made money. You can't just spend all this money, take a bank loan out and show that you lose money, then your stock tanks. Okay, companies like Amazon, Tesla can get away with that, but those companies are few and far between. Certainly Collectors Universe wasn't one of those companies. So the fact that they're private is going to help them just from a business perspective, and I'm really excited about the leadership that's there. We don't send cards in. Let's talk about what we've been buying. I've spent maybe I've tried to spend like $4,000 or $5,000 this week. I think I only spent about $1,000 this week. You probably spent a couple $100 this week. It's been a little bit of a slow week. There was some big auctions. PWCC, Probstein seemed like they had a lot of cards in there, and then you have the other guys that kind of piggyback when they had their big auctions and things like that. Talk about the kind of cards that you're buying right now.
I mean, at the show and online, I'm really looking for that. I hate to call it middle tier stuff. It's really kind of that $20 to $100 stuff. Jordan, Trout, Dennis Rodman, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Charles Barkley, a lot of NBA. Those cards just sell really well. And those cards turn over in less than 30 days. So you're buying those cards, you're obtaining them, you're listing them, on eBay or wherever, and those cards sell in less than 30 days. And we're talking about, the common and some of the insert cards up into the 90s there with Jordan and all those NBA stars there. So the guys you kind of know. So that's really what I've been focused on, because I noticed that that's an area that a lot of dealers and a lot of people don't focus on. A matter of fact, I bought 2 Jordan PSA 10s for $150 at the Dallas show. I just sold one of them for $150. Nice. And so now I got, after fees there, so I don't know, without the fees, you're netting out 115 or something there. I don't know what it is. But so now I'm in for another PSA, that other PSA 10 Jordan for only like $30. I sold that one for $250 a few months ago. That same card, it's a 91 Upper Deck All-Star. So, I'm not going to get $250 for it, but I might get $200, I might get $150 for it. So those opportunities are out there. It's not all with, the Justin Herbert cards and whoever the top baseball prospect is, or whoever the go-to NBA prospect is. You can dip back into the Reggie Millers and I'm out of Dennis Rodman cards. I would buy Dennis Rodman graded cards. I would buy Dennis Rodman. I'm only buying graded stuff. I would buy Dennis Rodman graded stuff by the handful if I could, and if it was affordable, and not just his Fleer rookie, but the insert stuff. I don't care if he's got a Spurs uniform, a Lakers uniform, proverbially a Bulls uniform, but it really doesn't matter. I've sold dozens upon dozens of Dennis Rodman just boo-boo graded cards. Right. So that's kind of what I've been looking for. I know you've been kind of trying to buy higher. I know we're trying to reach kind of a higher tier and buy more expensive cards. Right. What have you been looking at?
Well, so essentially what we're doing is Ryan's buying cards on eBay and then selling them on eBay. So a little bit of price arbitrage where, for whatever reason the card goes cheap during auction or whatever, and you mark it up, put it up, buy it now, do a little promoted listing behind it, and the thing sells, and you have 30,000. I think you're averaging about $10,000 in sales every month for the whole year. And we're probably looking at 20-25% margin net of all the fees. So you're making $2,500 a month, literally just buying stuff on eBay and relisting it on eBay. Okay, and so like he said, he's focused on the sub $50 card for the most part. I've decided to focus more on the $200 to $300, maybe $200 to $500 card, because I found that the price arbitrage there can be even greater. Okay, it takes, look, it's not easy. You got to be on there. You got to know what you're doing. Certainly the new guys in the hobby might need to spend a little bit more time educating themselves what is a card that you can do this on. But I've bought a Jeter autograph this week for $2.25. I think I'm going to be able to get $3.50 out of it. I bought an Ernie Banks card for about $2.25 also, that I think I can get $3.50 for. I bought a Raleigh Fingers card for $2 something. I'm almost positive I can get close to $4.50 out of that one. And last night Mickey Mantle was up there. I thought I could get $1,000 out of it. I stopped at about $750. I want to leave myself plenty of margin there, because you've got eBay fees, or you've got PWCC fees, or wherever you decide to send these things. And so you have to leave yourself enough margin. Plus, you got to factor in, you might be tying up $1,000 for 3, 4, 5 months. You could have flipped that 10 times doing $100 Jordan cards, $50 Jordan cards. So I'm focusing on that middle tier card, $200 to $500, with the hopes of just continuing to monitor that market, and hopefully get up to that $1,000, $1,200, $1,300, maybe even $2,000 card, where you might be able to buy it for $1,800 and sell it for $3,250 or something, and really clear, because the way like a PWCC works, the more expensive the card, the less fees they charge you. So it makes sense to kind of move up the ladder if you're going to use the vault, which we have started. We've been critical of PWCC in the past, to say the least, and but we've started using them for, number one, you can send the cards to them and not pay sales tax. Out here in California, which we're at a secret location here in California. It's beautiful. Obviously, we got short sleeves on, and but our taxes here are just insane. And so if you're buying a $200 card, you're going to pay $20 in sales tax, not to mention what you're going to pay in shipping. So you're giving up 10% right off the top just in sales tax, whereas you can send it to PWCC. They do all the work, the scanning. Their eBay listings are well frequented. I've noticed when they have their big auctions, that's when we'll sell stuff out of our vault, because people will buy stuff in their auction, and then they'll go through and maybe want to combo up shipping on some things, or maybe have missed out on some things, and then add some cards. So we sold 4 or 5 cards. We have like 70 cards there, and we sold 4 or 5 cards last week alone. Mainly on that lower tier. I'm going to start testing out the higher tier card, the $200, $300. For some people watching out there, that might not be a higher tier card, but that's kind of where we're at, and we're just kind of trying to scale this business up to where we start doing, well, we're already consistently doing $10,000 a month in sales. I think we'll probably by the summertime maybe bolt on another 20% to that, and then just keep moving it higher and higher to where maybe it's a 25. I could easily see doubling what we're doing right now to 25, maybe even $30,000 a month, especially when you start selling those higher dollar cards. And again, we're looking at a 20% blended margin. Might be higher than that, might be slightly lower than that, depending on what you're selling, depending if you're giving someone a good deal or whatever. But it's right now, that is still working, even as the market is softening. I think it will benefit. As the market softens, it actually will benefit people like us that are we're literally trying to turn these cards over as quickly as possible. We're not trying to keep these cards. We're not trying to have them appreciate over a long period of time. We're trying to catch them at a good price and then just resell them, hopefully within, I would say, 30 to 60 days. It's similar to a strategy. If we're Amazon sellers as well, you do the exact same thing on Amazon. The way their fee structure works out is you're trying to flip this stuff as fast as possible. So if anybody's out there watching this and you want to be an investor or whatever, but the buy and hold strategy in cards, I wouldn't call that an investment. In my opinion, I don't think that's necessarily an investment or a business. Okay. But I think if you want to run a sports trading card business where you're making money, you got to be flipping this stuff. You got to be turning it over very quickly. You don't see a blowout cards, buy boxes and he's trying to sell this stuff. Okay. And all the good single card sellers, from the Burbank guy down in Southern California to the guys that you see at the National that are really turning things over, they're trying to sell this stuff really quickly. And obviously the auction houses like that too. They make money by flipping this stuff as well. What else do you see out there in the trading card market?
Yeah, I think just because the market's quote down or dipped a little bit, that doesn't mean there's not opportunities. Like I like getting cards at more affordable prices, because I still believe I can sell them or pair them together, put 2 or 3 together and sell them. So yeah, I've noticed that even on the Jordan cards I was buying in January, that they're less now, but it doesn't mean that they're selling at a lower frequency. You
Right.
just buy them at a lower cost.
Right.
And because again, our strategy is turning stuff over so quickly, we don't have, you know, a whole house full of cards. Some, you know, that's some people's strategy. I'm going to pick the quarterback for the next season. You're waiting 8 months before that might even pay off, let alone if he twists his knee or does something.
Yeah, blow a knee in
Anything
training
could
camp,
happen.
and that's fine.
Well, and it couldn't not even be his fault. He's got, you know, 50 other guys on his team that could blow it for him one way or the other. So I don't like that strategy. You can do whatever you want. You know, we like to get in and out. So I like to buy stuff that I know that when I get it, what I'm going to price it for, and hopefully what I'm going to be able to sell it for.
That's the key, is when we buy something, we know exactly how much we think we're going to be able to get out of it. And from our experience, that is a more effective strategy. Now, when you're playing with wax or you're playing with some of these other segments of the market, it might be a little bit different. Maybe like on a 100K card, it's obviously harder to maybe turn those things over and flip those, but those kind of people playing in that market, few and far between. Certainly people watching this type of video are going to be playing in the space that we're kind of playing in. You know, that sub $200-$300 card, and you're trying to flip it, make a couple extra bucks, and kind of go out on your day. And hey, look, a lot of these guys have camera crews, but can they show you a nice watch? Can they show you a nice vacation home? Can they show themselves chilling
In California.
I don't think. Oh, and I'm looking out the window. There's a Tesla out there charging, and oh, my car's back there too. We won't talk about what I'm driving these days, but sports car market's softened, but in some ways, I think that, like, look at the housing market right now. Okay, if you're trying to buy a house, it's a nightmare. If you're a listing agent, nightmare. There's nothing to list. If you're a selling agent, all your clients want to buy and you don't have anything to sell it to. So sometimes when markets are really hot, it actually is harder to make money. And I remember the group breakers 5, 6, 7 years ago, maybe even longer than that. Now we're kind of dating ourselves in the trading card industry, but we would go to those first industry summit events where group breakers were showing up. They were doing pretty well. And I think as supply is tightened and these companies have gone to more of a direct strategy, so, you know, it's harder to get the product and it's harder to make money, and you're competing against a wider range of people, whereas 10 million cards coming out of the market from PSA, that is just music to our ears. And most of these guys have to sell because they got to pay their fees. They were in these cards already, probably for a higher price, because we remember we were net sellers last year. We weren't buying a whole lot last year. We had been constantly buying, but we were selling Lonzo Balls, Kyle Kuzma's, Tatum, Ingram, all these guys. We were just selling them and selling them and selling them as fast as we possibly could, because we had bought them at incredibly low prices, and the market just shot up right around this time last year. And this is when a lot of people came into the hobby and they were buying these cards at much, much higher prices. So these guys are going to get their cards back from PSA, and they're going to have to sell them. And we're like a real estate agent with a whole bunch of new houses coming onto the market. We're going to be like, we want to try to buy as many as we possibly can.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the strategy in the next. If you have cash, I noticed a lot of dealers at Dallas didn't seem to have a lot of cash. We're kind of jumping in, kind of, you know, I don't want to say late, but we're jumping in kind of after the rush here during the dip, buying some of these cards and just turning over and flipping them, because there's still an incredible amount of interest in sports cards. Don't let though there's a dip or it's going to crash. Look, guys, I've been going to shows since 2012. What I saw in Dallas blows me away. The amount of interest, guys. I used to go to shows. Some of you youngsters were probably still back in high school. Guys, I used to go to shows. I was the youngest guy there. And there was nobody there. I used to call the National the Crickets Convention. Can you imagine that? There was no line. There was nobody fucking. The only time, like, Topps would give away something and there might be like 50 people standing in line. Like, what you're gonna see this year, like, is blow. That's why I want to go, because it's going to be such a contrast for me. I went to like 7, 8 straight nationals, and this one's going to be totally different. So I'm really looking forward to whole new wave of people, whole new wave of interest. Some of these people, are fly by night. They're going to get in and out of the hobby, but there's a lot of interest, a lot of interest. So that's why 10 million cards from PSA are going to come on the market. Let alone for Beckett and SGC and all these other losers. These guys are sending cards to. I'm going to buy as many of those slabs as possible and turn them over and reselling them, because that's going to be, in my opinion, that slabs and graded stuff is still got room to grow, and that's what people are interested in.
Yep. And if you know your pricing, if you know your prices, you know what you can get it for, you know what you can sell it for, you know your fees, all that stuff, you know how fast it turns over, that's just going to give you a huge leg up, especially on a lot of these guys that have gotten into the market and they're seeing it. They're actually like depressed a little bit, okay, because they got in and they were paying, elevated 50% more, even for stars like Luca. I mean, we talk about Luca, his stuff's dipped like 40-50%. It's basically back to where it was before kind of you had this kind of COVID spike. But everybody else, okay, and imagine the guy that sent in 200 Tyler Hero cards or sent in 200, even some of these other guys, the guy on the Jazz that's been playing, Donovan Mitchell, there's a lot of guys that people were sending in last year, Tatum, stuff like that. Kobe White, just, even Zion, his stuff is softened. Down. It's definitely down. And so, and I can't imagine there's a catalyst to send Zion up over the next 3 or 4 months. So for us, it's going to open up just tons of doors. And if you're watching this, don't look at it as, look, the market's crashing. And if you happen to make some bad investments or you made some bad purchases, look, get out of it, sell it, get some cash, and get into stuff that you can be selling, okay? I think the big mistake people would make is say, I'm going to hold on to my Tyler Heroes and hope he comes back. No, because there's going to be a whole new crop of rookies. I don't watch college basketball, but I can imagine there's going to be 3 or 4 other guys that people are going to want to collect. You got the Trevor Lawrence guy in football, and among the Niners drafted a quarterback. I mean, everybody drafted a quarterback, it seemed like, in the NFL draft. So there's going to be a lot of things that people are going to be collecting over the next 6-7 months. I would not want to be stuck on dead inventory. I would be trying to turn this stuff over, even if it's for a loss, even if it's for a big loss, turn it over, take the cash, invest it into some stuff that can sell, build your bankroll back up, okay? And if you can get access to credit, I would do that. If you already know your market, we're obviously buying. I mean, you cannot run this business on straight cash unless you have a stack of cash lying around, which is fine. But most businesses, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, the biggest business in the world, they're not paying cash for shit. They get great terms from their suppliers, and so use your credit, use that type of thing to your advantage. It gives you a 30-day grace to pay it back anyways. By then the card is probably already sold, and you keep moving on. Not to mention you get a bunch of reward points and all that other stuff. So you're basically getting another $200-300 a month just on reward points and things like that. So there's a lot of ways to make money in this business. We've shown time and time again. I mean, first of all, we're still here. This is our 12th, 13th year putting up content. This is our 20th year kind of buying and selling cards and things of that nature. And there's just a ton of opportunity out there. Okay, we haven't talked about Pokemon. We haven't talked about some of that. I got a shipment a couple weeks ago where I was in it for $3,000. The street value today is $30,000 on these gaming cards. Okay, not Magic, not Pokemon. I don't want to say it because I'm literally one of only maybe probably 200 people selling this product right now, and it's one of the hottest gaming products on the market. Okay, so last year, for example, I was selling boxes of it for $150. Those same boxes sell for $8,000. So you imagine if I had kept the 100 that I had sold, I probably would own the whole. I'd have a couple more vacation homes instead of just one. So, and maybe a few more of these. But my wife's not here; she can't show hers off. So we've done well, okay? And we're not sitting here trying to flex or trying to brag. We're trying to show you that you can do it too. You got to have the right mindset. You got to be in and out of this stuff. You got to know what you're buying. You got to know what you're selling. I would specialize in one thing And especially if you're new, if you've been in the game for a long time like us, 20, 30 years, look, you can dip your toe in football, hockey, whatever you feel like. But a lot of people are new to this, and they're watching these quote unquote investor guys talking about buy this, buy that, buy that. A lot of these guys have just came in the hobby just over the last year. Yeah, maybe they collected 20 years ago, but it's completely different. The market today is completely different than it was 2 or 3 years ago. So if the guy wasn't in the market 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, I wouldn't trust anything that any of these guys say, because what we've seen over the last year or two in this market is just completely different than where it's been over the past. And it's not saying that we're going to go back to the past. I think we're kind of in a new space with this hobby, but it's going to fluctuate quite a bit. And I think the best strategy if you want to make money is you need to be in and out of this stuff. We've seen the price declines. That's supporting getting in and out of this stuff, and kind of, in my opinion, do our strategy where you're kind of working up the ladder. You build your bankroll, you build your sales up with smaller cards, and then you move up the ladder, the $200, $300, $400, $500 card, and up from there. Final thoughts for the fans and the haters out there in the sports card world.
Don't be discouraged about any price dips. That create opportunities, that create buying opportunities. If you've made mistakes, get out of your mistakes. Sometimes having cash is better than waiting for Tyler Hero to stop banging Instagram models and get his game together. So sometimes having that cash and then turning that cash over 40 different times instead of waiting for Tyler Hero to hit, that's the smart play. So think of, again, if you're thinking about this from a business perspective, turn this stuff over. If you're a collector, you should be getting a lot of great deals out there right now. And this is a great time to be looking for something for your collection, because it is a seller's market, because you got 90% of the people that go to the Dallas show with a freaking Pelican case trying to trade cards or flip cards themselves. So, and that's only going to be more so at the National. So look at any kind of dip or slippage in the market, or your player, or your thing, as an opportunity, not as a negative. It's an opportunity for you, because you have the knowledge. You know the market, you understand it, or at least for the period of time that you've been in it. So use that to your advantage. We've been doing this for 20, 30 years, so some of this stuff is second nature. How grading companies rank, what cards sell well, what's a rare card, what's this card, what's undervalued. That's second nature to us. I get that some people come into the market and they see PSA, BGS, SGC, HGA, CSG, and they're like, oh, they must all be the same. No. So just little things like that, let alone when you start getting into the nuances of the cards themselves, and little parallels and little sets, and what's this set, why does this sell for so much more, and print runs and how they've elevated the print. I mean, we can go on and on and on and on. But you watching this, if you're freaking still watching this, you have a lot of knowledge about sports cards. Use that to your advantage. Try not to have any biases. A lot of the dealers at the show were hating on NBA and the cultural stuff and the BLM stuff. Hey, you can think whatever you want about it. I'm still going to buy LeBron cards and flip them.
Right.
I'm still going to buy Kaepernick if I could get a Kaepernick autograph right now and flip it. I don't care. So if my advice to you is put all your biases aside. Try to get involved in every sport. Understand baseball, understand basketball, understand football. I was watching dealers flipping through cards, and he was like, no, I don't do baseball. Because he literally probably doesn't even watch baseball. That's a mistake. If you can understand at least the 3 major sports, whoa, you have a huge leg up. There's a lot of dealers who don't even watch basketball. Basketball cards are the ones that have shot up the most.
Right.
If you've only collected modern baseball, you've kind of missed a lot of the boom in the last couple of years. So get to know all the sports. Get rid of your biases and your haters, and I hate these players, and I hate this set, or I hate this sport, or I hate this brand. Get rid of all that.
Unless it makes sense.
Unless it makes sense from a business thing.
PSA over an SGC. Not saying you can't. We flipped plenty. We flipped 100 Tom Brady cards, SGC graded. So you can flip these things, but you need to get them at the right price.
You need to understand the price difference.
Yeah, you need to understand the price difference. You need to understand what's going on out in the market. It also helps if you're buying this stuff off eBay like we are, to be able to flip through the auctions, and then just boom, the card that is rare, the card you rarely see, kind of sticks out to you. Boom. That helps out as well. And if that is not you yet, you're kind of new to this, You were
Keep
into
going.
it, you know, keep learning, keep educating yourself, and it will get easier. And I think you can we're proof. We're making money off this. Okay, do we make money other ways? Absolutely, guys. We're out here in California. You can't have one way to make money and have vacation houses and nice watches and things like that. So you need to continue to push yourself. But in this card market, boy, there's a lot of money to be made. And when there's 10 million cards coming back from PSA, that's music to my ears.
Big.
So, guys, enjoy the holiday weekend. Relax a little bit. But the money's out there for you if you're willing to hustle and you're doing it intelligently and you're doing it the right way. The camera crews at the National and these Dallas shows, let me tell you what, I have a YouTube channel, 80,000 subscribers. I posted a video today. This video could get 5 times as many views and it won't make as much as other content out there. So I think this is my one prediction that I'll make here. The camera crews will be at this year's National. There'll be way less next year. So if they bother you and they annoy you, believe me, the content on YouTube does not pay very well. These guys will slowly disintegrate unless they're using their YouTube platform to sell something else, a mobile app, consulting service, sell their own cards, things like that. Then I could see how something like this could be profitable. Okay, we're certainly not out here making money because believe me, guys, we've already made that money. Okay, so there's a lot of ways to make money out there. Hopefully you guys had a great day out there. As you can tell, things are going pretty good out here. See you guys next time.